map off of Amazon and then just kind of traced it on a fiber board and cut it out. And then I put the collar of the router underneath it, and so I could get the outline, and then just kind of scraped in the middle. So
very nice.
yeah.
Now, is there significance to the wood that you used, or did you just find a nice piece of wood, or?
Yeah, I just found I did a sofa table with black walnut, and it turned out good. So I found a good size piece at a flea market, and went to work on it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice.
All right. Well, Angie, welcome.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum. In fact, we have all members. So if it pleases a group, we will call this meeting to order. So we will call the meeting to order. Our first item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? I make the motion.
I will move it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we'll move into financial statements. First, resolution of 2A, resolution of expenditures is deferred. Our statement of fund balance also deferred. Financial review deferred till Tuesday. Balance sheet deferred. We'll move into bank reconciliations, which you can find on page 3. Our first being the lead account.
Yeah,
we have that at our minimum of $5,000, and that is down from last month's. Let's see, we were up last month, were we not? We were, and then we just moved some out, correct?
Yeah, we moved a couple of the HUD deposits to our main account, so
That's
it
what I
was
thought.
145,000. So we've had no activity yet. I'm expecting another deposit in there.
Okay. Do we have any questions concerning the lead account?
Nope.
Dr. Helverson,
Yes.
if you'd like, I'll share the screen because the general account wasn't ready for press time. So
Okay. Yes, that would be great.
yeah,
Thank you.
so I'll share this one here. Okay. Can you see that now? Well, let's see.
Okay,
That's the lead account.
that's the lead account, which we had.
Okay.
Yeah, my handout does not have pagination, so Jim Keeler, if you would continue to put those up on the screen, that would help me correlate to my handout.
Okay, can you see that with a general account there?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, the bank munis balance was 455,000, and then we had some outstanding bank items, and then Centene payment that we haven't yet recorded in the munis balance. So the ending balance there is 471,317.02. So
Okay.
that's
So then we should see on that last one, Jim, the 141 being transferred, right? 141 for the
yeah,
debit
the
from lead to the
Yep.
general.
Yeah, let me if we look
Yeah,
at
on the bank statement. Yeah, it's going to be on the bank.
Yep, right here. That's the
Yep.
Yeah,
You
but,
see that?
okay, but it should show on the other one into the general account.
actually that goes to the Munis County large
On here.
equity
All
and
right.
cash. So all of these are just deposit accounts that roll up. into that.
So wait a minute. All right.
Yeah, let me go back up to or I'll go down here to this balance sheet. So if you'll notice that this equity and pooled cash, that's where all these accounts, when we transfer out, they'll come into that. Like for instance, at this particular time, it shows 546,000 going in, which is a net effect of our transfers in and some things that we get from the comptroller's website, less payments out. But that's where the money rolls in from these accounts.
Sure. And then you can see the 141,000 being transferred out.
Right. Right,
All right.
so, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now this is the abandoned properties, which had no activity because that's, we haven't, we've filed some reports, but we haven't got reimbursement yet. So, but this is where those reimbursements will land when they come in. So,
And then the
and then
final,
this is the e-pay account, which started at 367,000. And then with adjustments, it reconciles to 364,586.11.
that is,
So, and that's the statement balance. And that's the book balance. So,
okay.
so are there any questions on the bank statements then?
No,
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
thank you,
And
Jim.
I can keep this up here so Dr. Helen can look at that, and Angie, or
Thank you.
you just
Okay.
tell me, this is the chart for the major expenditures. So,
We will make a note that 2F, G, and H, the revenue and expenditure report, public health emergency reserve minimum graph, and the accounts receivable have all been deferred. We will move to this sheet, which is on the screen, which is our proposed expenditures. Bear with me 1 second as I try to make sense of my sheets here. One moment. There it is. And our first is our death certificate fees through Vital Records, through IDPH. It is a amount, exposed expenditure in the amount of $9,552. That is which is a total of 2,388 certificates issued in the month of September. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Signify with an aye.
aye,
Aye, opposed? Expenditure passed. We'll move into B, which is through CDP Incorporated, which is our annual software services covering environmental health, permitting, billing, inspection, and tracking, the amount of $32,012. Let's see. It is. There is a breakdown. Did everyone receive it on the breakdown cost per month and such, but brings it to the total of the $32,012. Do I have a motion to approve?
so moved,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
the amount of that invoice for the annual has not changed in the last 3 years. So it's
That was going to be my question. I'm actually surprised and rather amazed that they haven't raised that. I guess that's
yeah.
good. I guess we avoided that bullet for another year. I'm sorry, Jim, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm thinking Todd Marshall wants to negotiate that down if possible. He's
Well,
not,
yeah.
he's not all that thrilled with some of the service, but that is our system that we run. So to migrate off of that is very painful. So
As he goes to negotiate, does Does he have another system that he might be able to use as a leverage point, something that might make an easier transition, but also cover some of the things that he needs or services better?
Yeah, I think
Covered?
I think at this point, that's why he's hesitant to do so, because,
Okay.
they've got such a full plate, that it's kind of just,
Well, and I think that, first of all, this is used widely throughout the state of Illinois
Right.
for environmental. They kind of have a niche market for this software. And I think part of it is, as well, using it to its full potential. I think that that's another challenge. And again, there are some things that, he doesn't like how it displays, but it could also be kind of for us to look at how do we use the software itself. So this is kind of one of those debates. You can always ask them to give you a lower price, but again, this is pretty much the going rate throughout the state for what they provide and the platforms they provide.
Okay. And I guess sometimes it has the opposite effect, and they realize they haven't raised our rates in 9 years. But I guess if it's worth a try.
Yeah, but I don't, they haven't exactly. Some people use CDP just as their billing software. Some health departments use it as their actual billing software for clinical services for those that don't have the EHR system. So it is again, kind of, we do get I'm going to say the IDPH or IPHA. It's actually post, we collective purchasing. So while it's not the best, I think that it does do what we need it to do. And you're right. If we always say activity generates trouble if we begin to challenge it. And again, if it comes to a point where we can't appropriately use it or it's not able to do the work that we need it to do, then I think we need to take a look at the cost of migrating off and what that entails. I mean, and what the next generation is going to look like in terms of environmental software.
I guess the question would be, are we finding as time progresses that it's meeting less of our needs, or it's just a dissatisfaction with how some of the things are presented? Because I would hate to be caught short that now it's meeting 50% less of what we were hoping it would do or what it was doing. And so now we're in a scramble for it.
I don't think that that's accurate.
Okay, that's.
Yeah. I think that some of the report functionality may be kind of where he'd like a little more robust reporting, but it could also be a limitation on our own knowledge and use of the system and how to generate the reports that are needed or modifications that we want to make to the software. Remember, this is the software that we want to link up to our inspection reports going online and things like that. So
does CPD Incorporated, do they provide training, or is there any update and training they might be able to provide either at a free cost? Because I'm not sure when we've last done training, or at a reduced cost, so maybe we can increase the efficiency of our use of it. Is that something we could check into also?
Absolutely. We have seasoned users right now that are on it. So we certainly can take a look and see if there's, most of these groups have what I would call end user blocks, and certainly webinars that you can participate on for additional training, user groups that form. And so we certainly, if we felt there was additional training, we would approach them about what that would look like and what the cost might be, or if we want to add additional, not so much. I mean, we've got the CDP mobile, and the annual maintenance is already on there, but if there was something that was going to change, their system allows us both what we call asynchronous and synchronous on that. So it's not like we pay additional to take that app out into the field with us.
All right, thank you. Any further questions concerning the CDP Incorporated software?
Nope.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. If all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion opposed, motion passed. we will move to item C, which is SIACROM, our translation services. We discussed some of this last month at finance and also at the board meeting. And this is for expenditures in the amount of $22,999. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any questions? I know we had some information.
Well, it was a little confusing last month because the agreement was presented to the board and you approved the agreement, but they did not include the major expenditure with it. So we're now approving the expenditure associated with the agreement.
So will this be an annual, the $23,000 an annual within the monthly cost added on?
No, that's the estimated per month. You know, if you look over all of our programs and services over the 12-month period.
Yeah, and that's a very conservative estimate. I don't think we'll spend near that because the rates went down. I think they were, originally with Voyance, they were like 95 cents a minute.
Right.
And this is somewhat less, but if we do have a lot of refugees and additional time, but provided for in the estimate, but I don't think that we'll come, I don't think we'll be in danger of exceeding that estimate. And if we don't see these people that need the language services, then there won't be much of a, I think it's a $10 monthly fee,
Correct.
So
So
that's all we really would have at risk if we decided we didn't want to do any language services ever. So
correct. Well, I mean, I think it's a good service. I think it's necessary. I guess
Yeah.
I'm not understanding why we have this. Why is there not just a monthly billing
like a
fee? Why are
standard.
we paying a year in advance of an estimated amount?
If you're encumbering a certain amount to be spent on translation, your agreement is to pay. If you go back up, Jim, I know I can't scroll up on that page,
okay.
but see where it talks about what your charges per hours and per minimums and per rates. That's what you're agreeing to.
Yeah.
Now what we do is we say, okay, board, I need you to approve us to hold this dollar amount for us to spend down within that. And the agreement commits us to a minimum monthly charge of $10 per month. So the most if we never used a translation service, but in order for us to hold the money, Dr. Halverson and us to be able to spend on the contract, we have to then have an estimate. And so based on the hours that we've used in the past, I mean, what Jim has put together, and you can see that on the purchase order. And Jim, I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I'm directing the finger, but it doesn't really help.
Okay.
I'm hoping if you go back up here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and this is why it becomes, forget, that's all that detail of the agreement. And next time I say, well, take both the agreement and the major expenditure at the same time. This just got missed so that we would encumber. Okay, so if you go and it looks at the various services, which different programs, right? Project codes there are to the left.
Yep. We'd use them for WIC and for the tuberculosis program and refugee and BBO family planning and so.
And so we budget for those when we submit the budget to the state to say, this is a line item that we're holding inside for translations or interpreters. These are interpreter services.
And we may not spend that much
Right.
during the year.
Right. And we may,
only-
if we spend more, we would go back and ask for an extension on the dollar amount if it exceeded 3,000, right? That's our requirement.
Correct.
Right.
But I guess what I don't understand is if is this a monthly billing?
Well,
That's
yeah, but
true.
they bill you on services used. So let's say I
Right.
am using and I translate for 10 clients and maybe there's one person in person that's assigned the other languages and they bill us. We keep a record, right, of what we've used. and then we reconcile it to the bill that they submit. So we pay our bill based on services used per month, but we draw down, having held that in our budget for the dollar amount that we have in total, right? So when Jim puts that line item, we're not going to bring you the bill every month, but that's what.
If it were below $3,000, you wouldn't need to bring it to us, correct? Or $5,000. I think that's the limit, correct?
Correct, but we are anticipating, based on estimates, that we would spend close to $23,000 in a given year for interpreter services.
Right, which would still be below the amount you would need to bring to the board for approval for a major expenditure if you assume.
Yeah, but again, this is identified for an annual expenditure under an agreement. And so we are anticipating that full dollar amount. I mean, it would be a little, if we just went month to month and said, oh, it's under 3, we don't bring it to the board. In theory, we could do that, but we would want you to see the entire agreement that we intend to anticipate using a full $23,000,
Okay.
this is the most we anticipate, I should say, but does
That's
that make
fine.
sense?
It does kind of. I just don't feel like, I'm trying to think of another example. I don't feel like we do this, but that's okay.
You do this on several different ones where we may purchase some items underneath of it. And I'm trying to think if we've got any of them versus things that we do. Most of our, because it's not a standard annual contract, we're just really, the board is approving us to encumber that amount of fund to spend under this agreement.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just wasn't sure.
We do it under like the University of Illinois service agreement. That's the other one that we do it for, because we pay for hours of work performed, right? So, and we estimate the maximum hours of work performed. Let's say it's 20 hours a week times, 52 weeks. Now, some weeks are going to be 10 and some are, but we encumber the total amount so that would be maximum we could spend without coming to you again and saying we have, we need to extend this.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Jim, the page that you have up that you're sharing with us.
Yes.
Now, I'm assuming what we're seeing is the $620,000 minus the $22,999. What we're seeing is because this is the first month of the fiscal year. So there's our total within the health fund for this at this point.
Correct.
Going from, or am I? Okay.
Correct.
Right. And it's, if you look at that, that's where this line is falling under other professional fees. So when the next one that comes up, I think we have another one that's coming up underneath that.
Yeah, there are several.
That will withdraw from that, right? Well, that will draw down from that.
Yes. And that's, I just trying to catch up on this. There have been a couple months where I've been
It's okay.
lax, and I just want to make sure I'm fully understanding this. But that amount is because we're starting at this new fiscal year.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right.
And remember, that's the detail when Jim says at the beginning of the budget, and you approve this detail for CERCOM, he may have had an estimate of $23,000 for translation. Let's say 50,000 for physician services. I don't know, 10,000 for consulting. That's how he determined to put the budget at 620. And now
Right.
he's actually spending it down with the actual contract and agreements.
That's what I assumed. Great, thank you. Okay, thank you for answering those for me. We do have a motion and a second for the SciTech expenditure of $22,999. Motion and a second. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. Thank you. We'll move into environmental health, which is for soil boring fees in the amount of $5,200. We have, this is for July through September of 2021. The soil borings can be seen on a page I believe everyone has seen, or Jim, if you could bring that up.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Jim, for
Now,
bringing
this
that up.
is, and just as an aside, we are working to have them give us an agreement, and I believe that we are getting there. So we'd have one agreement, just like we did with Xerocom, right?
Okay.
That would give us a total amount, so we wouldn't come month to month on these.
Okay.
Does that make-
Are we trying to figure out an extrapolation of roughly how many were done over the past several years and what they
Yeah,
approximately?
the average that we use per year, right?
Okay.
Because clearly there's not a variation in price here, you know? But where we can, and so we're into entities will do that for us. It makes more sense to have one agreement. We tell you that we're going to do approximately 200 properties at $325, right?
Mhm.
And then you don't see these month to month things.
Right. Do we have any further questions concerning the soil borings?
Nope.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor for the expenditure for the soil borings in the amount of $5,200, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passed.
Okay.
We will move on to okay. The employee parking spaces, of which we have 60. It is a yearly rental, I'm assuming, with the Mendelson Group in the amount of $21,600. I was speaking with Jim earlier, and obviously this was a 3-year contract previously, which is why it did not ring a bell with me. They have moved to a year by year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
And a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
And it is in legal for review with the
Okay.
language changes. So you're approving the financial concept. The agreement is in, it will be finalized by legal.
Okay. Has the cost changed?
Yeah, we were at $28 a space, and they changed it to 30, so it went up $120 per month.
Okay, that's, if that was 3 years ago, that's probably not unreasonable. Okay, any other questions? If none, all in favor for the concept of the renewal of the parking lease agreement, the amount of $21,600, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. Now will we have the agreement by Tuesday, or will we just bring up this as a concept?
No, LAFA will have the agreement. You've approved, the board has recommended a movement for the financial. And again, she will have the final, agreement done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we will move to our next, which is a proposed expenditure with Adapt Pharma for Narcan spray for the training in the amount of $53,100. This is for 12 cases of
Yeah, 708 doses of Narcan. Yeah.
so for 708 doses. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I guess my question is just, I'm assuming the Narcan spray that we have been purchasing and doing with the training we have been giving out. We don't have any that is going past its shelf life.
That's correct. And where we can, we exchange out, right?
Okay,
Or have extensions. And so this is covered under the grant, and we're required, again, we purchase it and we dispense it as part of the training.
when we trade it out, do we get any reimbursement back from Adapt Pharma for unused or no?
Not usually.
Okay, okay. Do we have a way of having a record? Do we know how much might be actually
yeah.
used?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the surveillance piece. So again, part of this program, it's not great, but they're supposed to, if you use it, let's say you're trained and you take home your doses and you're at the Walmart and you help someone. In order to get your replacement, we have to get some additional information from you about that. How much information we get is very minimal, right? Because again, the goal is to get this out there.
Right,
The accountability on this is not as, I'm going to say, the goal is to get as much out there as you can, not so much, can you get it, can you get people to document what happened, right? Because we've got people that probably are not going to give us all the information that we want. But the number of what we call saves, we typically, family members will let us know, but some of the others may not. So we have requirements on this grant to provide and to have that as an, to try and gather that information, which we do.
oh, so we are getting, I guess my question is, we are getting some, I'm not sure, positive feedback is the way to phrase it, but we're getting feedback that it is being used.
We get some information that it's being used. Right now, we're doing a little bit of analysis as part of the opioid response team. Similar to vaccination, if you think of it like this, if you talk about herd immunity, right? We hear a lot about this. If I need X% of the population to be vaccinated, is we're trying to do an overlay of X%. If I train 100 people, and I don't know, I'm not going to ask you specifically who you used it for. How many lives does that equate to? And I'm looking at it by place, right? By zip code of where. So like, while I may not, let's see, I may train in zip code 61111, but rescue in 61104, right? And so that's the kind of analysis that's done, because we know that many people tell us they don't have people that they know in their families that use, but they're getting trained, right?
Mhm.
And they may be, responding in very different areas. So it's understanding how much do we have to get out there to save more lives, right? So that, everyone out there, could possibly respond.
Mhm.
So there's a lot more to it than one-on-one, right?
Yes, and don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning the expense and the use of the grant to its efficiency. I'm just curious, I guess, are we noting are we noticing a decrease in the number of overdose deaths? Are we doing some sort of tracking within?
Oh. Okay, so Dr. Halverson, probably not for this board meeting. What I can do is have them, we have the opioid surveillance grant as well.
Okay.
And so we look at all kinds of data. And I'd like to say that we were having a significant impact. I know Chicago reported that they did. We are not. But again, there are a couple of things that we have to look at. First of all, it's not a straight linear, one-to-one. But also, part of this opioid response is in kind of, we're bringing the group back for kind of like an annual meeting back out, is to look at the data from 19 through 21, right? We have data of not only from rescues, but corrections and a bunch of other things. But one of the areas that this community still continues to lack on is MAT services, right? So when you look at opioid response to preventing overdose death, it's not just simply naloxone training, right? So you need to have early identification and treatment. And the state-of-the-art treatment right now is being able to provide medication-assisted therapy. And so, we have to look at where that's at. We also are looking at the number of individuals who are supposed to receive therapy really in the correction system, right? and then are back out. And when they're released, what is their follow-up? What is that going on? So there's a lot more going on in terms of that, but we have not seen the same decline that Chicago has seen in their opioid overdose. In fact, we're pretty much more on par with the nation, where we've seen an increase from 20 to 21.
Well, I know there's been some speculation because of the isolation that COVID imposed upon us. That's why we're seeing an increase in the opioid usage. So overall, we may see it may be stable because of the increased use, or even a decrease, but we've had that increase in the usage.
And it'll be interesting because we're asking the Community Mental Health Board to give a report out on programming and monies that they have allocated toward treatment and or care for individuals with opioid use disorders, right? In terms of, because remember that was enacted, it's hard to believe already, right? March of 2020. I mean, is that, I sometimes think I've lost track of time, what year we're in, but think about that. We're just beginning to see those monies go out for expansion and treatment and care, and how much was really put out for that kind of service. We have things related to which we do have the direct coroner data about which drugs are being found in the systems. We're also looking at that naloxone training and where, not only where were people trained, but where did they come from, right? And where did they go to? And so I think that all of this comes into, and then what are we doing around prevention? We still are, we're rebooting some of those programs in the in-school programming about, how do we make sure that we can work through and prevent that? We did the opioid stewardship that we launched just about the start of the pandemic. And we have seen, interestingly enough, the preliminary data, a decline in the number of MMEs prescribed, meaning that our providers are certainly got on board a little bit with that. So we are looking at some of that, what they call the Illinois PMP, which is Prescription Monitoring Program Dashboard data. So, there's a lot of different things going on. So you think about that. We launched that stewardship that looked at both the provider and the consumer patient piece of it, that said, this is how we're going to manage it. We also provided naloxone training, as well as dispensing to pharmacies that they could give naloxone under a standing order. We looked at, again, increasing access to treatment. I mean, there's multiple facets, and then involving the justice involved population. Some of the work around diversion versus, what we would, in terms of versus incarceration. So a lot of those things have to come together. And then, of course, we had the pandemic lay over that with mental health concerns and issues. So more to come on that. Certainly an important topic in this community.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate that. Do we have any further questions concerning the Adaptive Pharma, the Narcan spray, or how it's being used, or any information around that?
Nope.
If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the expenditure in the amount of $53,100 for, I believe, 708 doses, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So passed. We will move to G, which is a Time Clock Plus user license agreement in the amount of $3,360. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion concerning this? Okay, no discussion. Purchasing the license agreement for the Health Department Time Clock. Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So passed. And our last major expenditure is tuition. Nope.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right.
We have the Pro Pharma flu vaccine.
Oh,
and that is new in the amount of $5,580. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move that.
second,
second,
Thank you.
You want to, and again,
Thank you.
probably should explain to you a little bit about that. In that, normally we pre-book our orders. Now we do it with Securus. The problem is that they are not delivering in the timeline we need. So we've had to go out and purchase on the market, so that we can meet our obligations. We, are part of we vaccinate for the state of Illinois employees. And so we have to go out and purchase some vaccine now. We've not received shipment from our initial vendor, that's Securus, that we had put together an order for in March of 2021.
Okay, yes, I don't have the information on that in my packet that I'm seeing, though. I could be
Yeah.
missing it. How many doses is that we have secured through Pro Pharma?
Two hundred.
200?
Yeah, there's 10
Yes.
units. There was 2 different orders. So 200 doses at $279 a piece. So I have 2 POs here. And then the total
I see that.
5,580.
Okay, I've got that now. I apologize.
Okay.
Okay,
so only 200 doses?
Well, Jim, it's not the entire order.
No,
It's to get us
Um,
through the next week and a half
yeah.
till we get to the next, which is when we're showing a shipment supposed to be released by Securus.
okay.
Does that make sense?
So this is in addition to Securus?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Is Securus, is this problem of supply throughout, or are we part of a small population which is not being supplied, or is everyone taking a hit? How is this
Yeah, we
working?
don't know. How do I say politely? We don't know. We have worked through all of our agents on this.
Hmm.
And I have both LAFA and Charlotte are taking a preliminary review of our agreement, because these are the same vaccines that Securus provides, and actually they're the manufacturer. And so we don't know if they're withholding from governmental entities, right, and shipping them out to what we would call the pharmaceutical warehouses. But we have them working on this.
Okay, thank you.
But in the meantime, we've got the obligation to get those people, as I said, the state of Illinois folks vaccinated.
Yep.
As well as, if it comes too late, it really doesn't help us,
No. October is a month we want to get it out.
So moving forward, I think we're going to take a look at ordering from a different supplier with probably a little more guarantee on delivery.
Since we, yeah, okay. Do we have any other further questions concerning this? If none, all in favor of the purchase of the 200 doses of the flu vaccine from Pro Pharma, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So passed. We have,
Halverson, could you please go
Yeah.
back and vote for the Victoria Sager's tuition reimbursement?
Yeah,
I
we
was
have to
coming
go
to
there.
that because I do not have, I have the sheet but not on, so I was coming to that last. My order was the Pro Pharma flu vaccine before. So yes, we definitely want to look into the tuition reimbursement for Victoria Sager, and that is
approximately $3,328.
thank you, Angie.
That's correct.
Very
yeah,
much.
page
Yes.
53. Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second,
Great. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion concerning this? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So passed. So we will move into proposed contracts. Oh, let's see, proposed contracts and agreements. Our first proposed contract is the internal program collaboration between WIC and MCVA to promote WIC enrollment. There is no dollar amount associated with that. It is just, it is an agreement. Good, here we go. Why, and this is a new agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. Our second agreement is with the Winnebago County Health Department internal program collaboration between WIC and BBO to promote WIC enrollment. Again, that is also a new agreement. No financial amount attached to that. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. We'll move to C, which is, again, collaboration between WIC and HealthWorks to promote WIC enrollment. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So
move.
moved.
Great. Second, thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 So passed. We will move to an agreement with Victory Outreach Church of Rockford for the DOP, the Drug Overdose Prevention Program. This is new. This is again a new agreement. There is no financial cost associated with this. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. There is no cost associated with this?
No, Dr. Halverson, I guess the cost, they actually do the training and we provide them with the naloxone to give the training.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. E, which is again, an agreement with Oak Street Health for the DOP Drug Overdose Prevention Program. New agreement for the training. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So passed. Our last agreement is with Youth Services Network for a network linkage agreement. That is an existing contract. Non-equal on cost. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
move.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion concerning this? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion so passed. Are there any, let's see. Yes. Are there any further agreements or contracts or major expenditure requests at this time?
No,
Thank you. Do we have a need for an executive session?
no,
Do we have any further additions?
no.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
all
you
of you.
for leading us through.
Pardon?
And what we'll do is plan for next month. I can have, because we will have had the opioid response team reboot, maybe have that as the presentation on the overview.
That would be great. That would
Yeah,
be great.
look at the data, do a deeper dive, because it is interesting information. I know this is, it's kind of like you're looking at it from the naloxone cost, we're looking at the finance, but it's a really, a comprehensive look at what's going on at this point and where we need to do a lot of attention and work next. Lots going on in that area.
That would be really good.
Yes. And again, my concern is not so much with the expense. It's a grant. It's a great program. I just love to see how we can see what kind of success we're having. And hopefully it's something
Yeah.
that branches out.
Yeah, the
No, I-
evaluation is really, it's been challenging. And some of the, initial, as I said, kind of the question I have is how many people do you need to train on naloxone? How much do you have to have out there in the community to start reducing and increasing saves, right? I can't at this point necessarily. And so it's kind of like, how many do I have to vaccinate with this naloxone to get it out there, right? Because it's not just going to be people in neighbor, it can't just be concentrated in one area. It's got to be throughout. And also, when we start looking at some of this is, it's not the most effective if fentanyl is your drug, right? So even on a good day, it's not as effective as it should be against the synthetics. And so, if we're starting to see an increase in that, then, while naloxone is an important tool, we got to figure out some other tools, right? Because it will not be as effective as we need it to be. So lots of stuff to come out, but I think that way we can have the opioid surveillance, Peter and Abby have been working on that as part of that because we are grant funded. So can give a little overview and discussion on that.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, I thank you all for your patience through another finance meeting. I will
Thank
see
you for
all
your
on-
leadership.
Pardon?
Thank
for your
you.
Oh,
leadership.
thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
The vet among us is going to enjoy this. I have a dog sitting here with both his legs crossed. Do I need to let him out?
They were worried, Angie, that you might have to this time.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, we went from one meeting to the next, and here's his poor dog, and he's suffering, so I need to get him out of here. Good night.
All right, Angie.
Have a great-
Go.
Just do it.
Good night.
Bye.
In between
Right,
the
everybody.
raindrops too, because they don't like being outside in the rain.
No.
Bye now.
Take care.
Buddy, have a great day and we'll see you on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday. Take care all.